channel. This is the first video. I'm going to be uploading videos of my Hobonichi cousin, maybe some other journals, reading, other hobbies. So if you like that kind of stuff, please stick around. This first video is going to go over the first half of January in my Hobonichi cousin. I'll go over what my pages look like, some of the stationery I used, what I got up to, and there'll be some extra clips here and there of footage I took from each day. I hope that you enjoy, that you can get some inspiration or learn about some new stationery creators. I love sharing the beautiful stationery that I found, and I love seeing other people's videos, getting ideas from them, and also seeing the stationery that they use. So I hope you enjoy, and I've said that a million times now, so I'm just going to start. I'll start with my cover page. Last year I actually was making a kind of collage with stickers, but this year I found some really beautiful paintings with a reddish hue that was set in winter. It was basically this subreddit that I found on. Someone uploaded someone put on a thread that they were looking for. I think it suggests me a book. They put a thread saying, can you recommend a book that is reminiscent of these paintings? I think it was this one, and these two possibly, or maybe just this one. So that's what I went for. And then I also added a couple of pieces of writing from various writers and poets. I kind of arranged them on a background, and then I added January in various fonts. And I actually am pleased how this turned out. I'll compare it to last year because I actually have last year's journal. So this is last year's. I actually really like this, but I don't love the writing, my handwriting, I mean. This is okay, but you know, this kind of Happy New Year, and then I wrote it in Japanese as well. Yeah, I don't know if I like that, but the reddish colours, the stickers, this is osechi, which is what people eat over New Year, and the sticker just matched the colours perfectly, so I thought I'd stick that there. And some like lucky New Year images. So that's what I'm doing this year. I'm quite happy with this, and I'm going to keep doing it for each month. Finding the paintings is actually really fun. I just search on Tumblr. These are all from Tumblr as well. This specific font is the kind of Tumblr philosophical writing quote font, so I quite like that. Yes, I have got back onto Tumblr after about a decade, so some things never change. 1st of January, we had a really good day. We went to it's either an onsen or a sento. I think it's a sento. A sento is like a bathhouse, but they don't have the actual natural onsen water, hot spring waters coming into the facility. They use artificial water source, but I'm not 100% sure which one it was. It was in Chiba, I want to say. But yeah, we were meant to go hiking that day or walking. We were going to go walking around the lake that's near the center, but we woke up too late. So here I used some stickers. I think these are from Mindwave. They're just the Year of the Horse stickers, and I've used these on mostly all of the pages for January just to kind of tie them together. I also used this tear-off calendar, which you'll see on every single page. I really like this one. It's this one here by the artist is Shiho Sakurai. What I was using last year was the Muji tear-off calendar that I think it was new for last year, and I was cutting it out, but I wanted one this year that I could just tear off and stick down, so a kind of smaller size. So this was perfect. It has a flower on every day, a different flower, if you can see. And it also has the flower name and the meaning of the flower, which I really like. I think having something that you stick on every page or you write on every page is really helpful for kind of getting into the page itself, because if you just staring at a blank page, it can be really difficult to get started. So that's what I do. I always have something. I know some other creators will put a little box here, for instance, and say the temperature and a kind of summary of the day or something. And actually last year I was using this space to put in my media, what I watched, read, listened to. But I decided this year I was going to use this space just as part of the daily page. And then I also put a stamp behind the writing, but this is the only time I do this because I don't like how it looks. I think the ink has kind of bled a little bit over the top of the stamp ink. The pen ink is bleeding on top of the stamp ink. So yeah, I haven't done that since. I print out my photos using the Canon Selfie, which I really like. It's not obviously it's not amazing photo quality, but for the purposes of this, it's perfectly adequate and yeah, easy to use. And then I've used flake stickers here. I can't remember where these are from, so I'll make a note of that, and then a washi tape at the bottom. And then this, I cut out of the pamphlet from the cento because I can't take a photo of the bath itself. I think I would get shouted at, so. The next couple of pages, the second and the third. Second was quite a chill day. I think we watched a lot of movies on this day, and I did a lot of journaling, so it was really nice. Sometimes I am quite a homebody, so those days when I can just sit at my desk and journal, some of my favourites, to be honest. I think we watched The Holdovers. Yeah, we did. It was a really good movie, actually. It was funny because I watched Scent of a Woman for the first time a few weeks before that, maybe quite close, maybe just late last year, and it was very similar in theme, but I didn't really understand the ending of Scent of a Woman, what it was, or I didn't really think the ending made sense. But you know, Al Pacino was great in it. He's always chewing the scenery, but so I was just comparing them here. I do like making a little kind of collage with photographs and stickers and other ephemera. So you'll see a lot of that in my pages. And then these beautiful stickers from a pet tape from the Washi Shop. I really like these, the watercolour. And this was from a package of some stationery that I purchased. So I stuck that there. And then this is from a roll tape, I think. You know, the ones where they're quite a thick roll of stickers that you tear off. The artist is, I can't remember, so I'll put that on the screen if I remember. And then I took a bit of this page to add some photos from the third, because we did quite a lot on the third. So I tend to, if I have a busy day on one day and a less busy day on the other, I'll cut like part of the page off and just use maybe this part of the page here, and then this rest of it I'll add to this third. I know it's a day a page, but sometimes you do more on one day and less on the other, so I take advantage of that if I can. So you can see that on this day we went bird watching. I absolutely love bird watching. I'm just really into it these days, and we get so many beautiful birds near where we live, even though we live in a city. So we don't get like rarer birds, but we get a lot of little birds like Mejiro, which is a warbling white-eye. They're little green birds with a white eye ring. We get the common sparrows and shichugara, which is a tit that lives in Japan and East Asia. And over winter we also got some ducks that we don't normally see. So I added the photos in here. And then I added some titles here because I really like how Chris at Elanim's channel writes. She does really cute like handwritten titles to break up the page, but I didn't like how it looked. So I haven't done this again. But I do like this. This is part of the taiyaki packaging that we got. So we, as I said, we went bird watching, and then we had dinner. No, we did Hatsumode first, which is the first shrine or temple visit of the year, which was lovely. And this is where we got the taiyaki, which is a kind of bready dessert with custard inside. And the lady on the stall gave us a discount, and she also gave us a bunch of free sweet potato snacks because she was closing. It was quite late, so that was really kind of her. The reason I got this, I'm not really into taiyaki that much. They're quite nice, but I liked it because it was in the shape of a manekineko, which you don't normally see, so I had to get one. And yeah, and then we had Chinese food, so I put that here. And there was a really beautiful moon that night, full moon, so we took a photo. I think my husband took that actually, not me. And then these washi tapes, this washi tape is actually they're different patterns, but they're both from MT. They're the Japan culture series that they did maybe a year ago or last year. This one's a shrine visit one, how to visit a shrine, and this is what are they called? Those special decorations that they have, the ties. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen. But that I liked it because it went with this packaging. I think it's like symbolises good luck or something. So yeah. So I do like this page on the whole. I just wish I didn't. I'm not a big fan of that. These next pages are kind of a pair, I guess. I got some stationery. I think I got some stamps, and the envelope that they came in had this cute strawberry imagery on. And since strawberries are in season in January, I used them for these 2 pages, so I kind of carried on the design over the pages. I also used a memo pad here. I will add the artist because I can't remember off the top of my head. This is, it's a simple page. I don't exactly love this part, but you can see I've used a memo pad to add about my day, and I've written on the side here about taking a book into the bathroom. I have this habit of I love baths. I can spend hours in the bath, and so I like to take a book in with me, but I never read. I always end up on my phone. It's really bad. So I'm like, why am I taking these paper books into the bath? A Kindle's not so bad or an e-reader because it's not going to curl up. But the paper books, they get so curled up and because of the steam. So I really should stop doing that. So I was just writing about that. I mean, it's just little things like that, but it's quite funny to look back on. Yeah. As for what I write about, I write little things like that, but I also tend to write about my day. I am one of those people who likes to write, I did this and then I did that and then I did this. But I try to also make sure to add in little small parts, really detailed little things that made me smile or brought me joy, or even bad things. I think specificity is key to creating pages that are individual and kind of show that this was a separate day to this day, even though I was working and then I did journaling and then I read, I worked and then I watched TV and had dinner and then blah blah blah. You have to separate the pages, I think, and that comes, I think, with writing close to the day. It sounds obvious, but it's something that I've had to learn, is that if I write or if I backfill several months later, which has been the case for last year's cousin, I'll lose that, I can't say this word, specificity of the day. I'll just be writing. So I have learnt that I need to write down roughly what I did. So even a couple of days later, I can refer to that. So I have another A6 Hobonichi that I use for my to-dos every day, and writing down roughly what I watch and read and listen to, so that I can update my media journal later. But I also have like a bullet point list of what I did, just so that if the worst comes to worst and I'm filling in the page like 2 months later, I can at least refer to that. And I think that's really good for me, who backfills sometimes, or often, or a lot, or all the time. But it might be useful for you if you're also a backfiller. It depends what you want to write about. Some people just write about their feelings or their emotions. Some people write just about like what they engaged with, like media or friends. And for me, you know, I have a lot of days where I'm just at home working, and I maybe don't even leave the house. So I like to find things that differentiate the days, and sometimes those are very small things, but I think they're worth writing down. It's not easy to think about what you want to read in the future, but I think funny things, things that bring you joy, those things, kind of unique things, will be something you'll want to look back on. At least that's what I think for myself. Anyway, moving on. The 5th, I put snowy day, but it was actually snowy in the UK, which is where I'm from originally. Mum sent me some pictures of my nephews, which I love to see. I love to see them growing up. So I put some pictures in that my mum sent on WhatsApp. And then also a picture of my lovely little doggy that I used to look after. She's my brother's dog, technically, but I mean, I've known her since she was a puppy, and oh, she's like my baby. Yeah, so I miss her so much. But yeah, quite simple. And then this little stamp, I'll put the creator. Whenever I'm feeling tired or cozy in bed, I like to put this little puppy under a blanket. And you can see here, again, I'm using this burgundy, classic burgundy ink. This was a green ink from, I think it's how do you say this? It's French brand, Herbin, Herbin. I'm sure I pronounced that terribly. I thought that would go with these daisies here. There's quite a lot of green, and there's green from the leaves, and then her jumper, so I went for green ink. And then here I went for a red ink just because it's January, the colour is red. But I also chose a blue ink here, which I can't remember which blue this is, because it goes with these photos. I don't always use the main ink colour of the month for these pages. Like these ones I've used red a lot, but sometimes I'll just match the ink colour to the main colour of the page in terms of the decoration, more so than the monthly colour. So these two, you can see it's red, that is the main ink colour, but maybe on other pages it's not. I don't tend to stick to that too much. I think the cohesiveness of the decoration and the ink colour is more important. But as I said, if I don't know, no, I didn't say that. If I don't particularly have a colour sticking out to me, I'll just go for the main monthly colour. So this next set of pages, I really like one page and I don't necessarily so much like the other. So I love the 7th, I'm not so keen on the 6th. So I bought these papers. They're actually for an M6 ring system, but I just bought them because they're really cute. Like, look at this artwork, it's so cute. The artist is I think ICO. Yeah, so they're for M6 size, but I don't have M6, and someone stopped me from buying an M6, please. So yeah, I wrote about my order from Tegamisha. I got these lovely stamps from Dodolulu. The thing that I don't like about this page is I do like this part. I use these. These are from a pet tape from our studio. And I like this. I was writing about my ridiculous reading goal. So my aim is to read 26 books in 2026, which is crazy because I only normally read about 25 or so books a year. My aim for this year is 52, which is not going to happen. But, you know, aim for the stars, and then maybe if you if you land on Earth, it's still better than nothing. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to stick to a whole list. I'm not so much a mood reader as one of those people who's influenced quite a lot So I watch a lot of BookTube, and I also read. Sometimes I'll read subreddits about reading, and people discuss a book, and I'll think, I've got that book on my shelf and I haven't read it yet. Maybe I should pick it up. Things like that. Or I'll read one book and then they'll allude to another book. So I think, oh, I've got that book. Maybe I should head to that next. It's kind of like a monkey going from vine to vine. I'm going from book to book. They're all kind of connected to each other, and I think they, it's kind of a cliched phrase, but they kind of talk to each other in a way. So you can see where the book that you've just read got some inspiration from. I think that's really cool. And so I am quite influenced by outside sources, and that's why I probably won't be able to stick to my 26 books in 2026. But it's quite fun to make. I've never done it before. This is the first year that I've tried it. I split the 26 books into 5 fives under different categories, and then one book that's kind of a stretch goal because it's in a language that I don't normally read in. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll share that. I'd like to talk more about reading on this channel as well. The thing that I don't like about this page so much is I don't love this comic here. I like the comic itself, but and it goes well with the reading stuff. I also wrote about my Goodreads goal of 50 books. 50 books, not 52. I don't know, wow, 50 or 52. They're both crazy goals for me, so I don't know. That makes no difference. Yeah, I don't know how it looks on the page. I don't really put memes, or I think if you have like a big clump of memes or quotes or comics or other art from social media, what you find, it can look really good. But I think one on its own with stationery that doesn't really match that aesthetic, it looks a bit off to me. I'm sure like if you did it differently, it might look really good. It's just my personal opinion, or even just my personal opinion about this specific page, it doesn't look great. So that's why I don't tend to put memes and comics and stuff in here. But I would like a place to put them. I'll think about it a bit more. So that's the 6th, and then this page, this on the 7th, I had a really fun day. Well, it wasn't that fun, but I had a health appointment. I'll bleep it out because it was a bit of a personal one, but I had some time beforehand, so I went to a stationery shop. Actually, I went to a couple of stationery shops. I went to the Small Loft, which is in the, there's a big box, it's called. It's kind of like a big complex. Oh, it's got so much stuff. Like literally you walk down the stairs from the restaurant floor, which is on, I think it's on the 9th floor, and every floor there's like something different. Like you'll see a bowling alley, and then you'll go down and there's like a swimming pool and a gym, and then you'll go down another floor and there's like a place where you practice golfing. It's really odd building, but kind of fun. And on the lower floors there's shops, including Loft, which I love, but it's only a tiny loft, so I went in there. And I also went into another stationery shop called Chikuwa, which is outside that big complex. I really like it there. It's so packed with stuff, like you wouldn't believe how much stuff is in there, and just really fun place. I like going there, so I went to there as well before my appointment. I went there actually because I wanted to find some woodblock tools, but it's more of a stationery shop than a art shop. I still haven't bought the woodblock tools. I bought a load of books about woodblock prints, and I bought some paints, but I haven't bought any of the chisels or whatever you need. That's going to be a big thing, and I don't think I'm going to ever start it, but I've got this thing in my mind that I really want to get into woodblock prints, so yeah, it's one of those things, when you've got all these grand ideas and it never works out. But the paints are lovely. I can use them for other stuff. I didn't have any in acrylic paints. I only had watercolours, so you'll see that when I purchase them. So I had my examination, my test. It went really well, actually. It was a lot better than home. They were very. They have this chair that kind of moves around automatically. That took longer than the actual test, so literally it was a second, and then she was like, done. And then back at home, I think I got Katsu from Takada no Baba, which is where I had my exam. So yeah, we started a new series called, well, it's not a new series, but it's kind of a spin-off of, there's this show called Solitary Gourmet, Kodoko no Gurume, which me and my husband really love. It's about this salary man who just goes around Tokyo and eats. Every episode he goes to a new restaurant, or maybe even two. And it's such a nice show, but you can't watch it when you're hungry. Like, you have to be eating dinner or have eaten before you watch it. So, and then there's a new spin-off called Sorezore no Kodoko no Gurume, which is, it's the same thing with the same main actor. What's his name? Well, anyway, he's in it, but normally it's just from his point of view, and he talks about the food and how he's going to eat it with different combinations, and he's going to try mustard, and then he's going to try katsu or whatever. But this one, it shows like another character in each episode and eating from their point of view, which is quite different. So I think it's really interesting. So we were enjoying that. And I'm also reading Masks. Oh, I was reading Masks. It's called Onnamen in Japanese. And yeah, it was a bit of a tricky read for me. I have finished it now. It took me ages to read because I kept putting it down and picking it up. I enjoyed it, but it's the way she writes is quite hard, because a lot of the kanji she uses, the Japanese characters, are like non-standard, or maybe they were standard when she wrote it, because she wrote it in the 50s, I think. But yeah, it's just quite, I don't know, it's just really tricky to read. I think it's just because, yeah, she writes, like really well-written works that use uncommon language are just difficult to read anyway. So, but reading that in a second language was a bit of a tough thing for me. But I'm glad I got to the end, and I did enjoy it. That was a recommendation from Chris Ellenim's channel again. She gave it 5 stars. I think I gave it 4. But yeah, it was really interesting. All about the hidden depths of women. And I really like how I separated this page into 3 sections. These are from Suatelier, these little, what are they called? Little post-it things. And then I added a bit of packaging. I do sometimes add packaging. As I said, I like memes and stuff. It's a bit busy and it doesn't really go with the other decoration, but I felt like this kind of was okay. I just really like the decoration and the font. I just thought it was quite cute. These pages are not so interesting. I do really like this washi tape. It's really cute. I don't actually have a cat, but I have a lot of cat stationery, so I would like a little dog. I can't have a dog in this apartment because it's not pet friendly, but we're thinking of moving this year, so I'm hoping that we can get a little corgi. For the time being, I shall just have to enjoy dogs and cats in my stationery and in my journals. So I've got these 2 pages. I think these were backfilled because they're quite simple, but I used another memo pad and then I cut it out, which I quite like. And then I just wrote about running here. I did actually run 10k in March, so I was training for that, but I wasn't the best at training. I did finish it, I just didn't finish it in the time because we had to walk, and I kept saying to my husband, like, you go ahead, but he wouldn't. He ran with me all the way, which was lovely of him, but it did mean that we didn't get a time. But next time, because I haven't done a 10k race in years, and I've only really been getting back into running seriously, so I need to let myself off a little bit. And I did try, and I turned up and I did it, but next time I want to finish in the before the cut-off time. And then this cute stamp I put here, but it did go a bit dodgy, so I had to like put a bit of I think it's this, is it Pentel? Oh no, Uniball, the gel pens that everyone knows about. I use this Signo to make corrections most of the time. It's quite handy for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I also, on this page, I tend to split, if I have the whole page to write, I tend to split it in half. I think it looks better than just writing all the way across the page. I got these cute stickers from Suatelier, so I put these here. And then this is a BGM tape that I got in a random set. I really like this one. I think it looks cute. And then I chose blue, that dark turquoisey blue as my main ink colour. And I stuck in this bit of paper from an order I got from Hanyakisho, which is a stamp brand that I really like. They sell stamps that you kind of combine together. So for instance, this is quite a simple one, but I got this coffee cup, and then you get like a couple or maybe even 3 different latte art stamps that you can stamp on the top. I did get a bit close to this edge. I didn't stamp it 100%. So again, I used the Uniball pen to correct it as much as possible. But yeah, I find this really cute. I really like those stamps where you, as I said, I'm into woodblock prints now, so the idea of stamps that you build up is really cool. So yeah, I got a few of these different ones. And then I added the oranges because I think I was reading a new book. I finished I think at the beginning of the year, my English book was The House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. That was my first book I ever read of his, and I enjoyed it, but the ending was a bit, there's a metaphor with this, the house of the seven gables, the titular house, but the metaphor didn't really work at the end, so I didn't really know what was going on with that, but it was an enjoyable read. And I learnt a little bit about the Salem witch trials, although obviously I need to learn a lot more. So I started a new English book, and it was Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. So, how novel, I put pictures of oranges, if they even are oranges. And I enjoyed that as well. But I was writing about how it's crazy to think how there's people that are that fanatical in terms of religion, like her mum is like really religious. It's funny because people are talking about another book at the minute called is one of the Women's Prize shortlisted books, I think. What is it called? It might be Mercy Step. The Mercy Step, is it? Was it that one? But yeah, people were talking about how the mother was like really religious, and it had a massive impact on the child because she couldn't go to the library or read or watch certain things. And it reminded me of Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, which was written in the 80s, I think, or was it 90s? By Jeanette Winterson. It's like a kind of memoir / novel, like the character is based on herself and her upbringing. And it's crazy to think about how those kind of groups are living among us. And, obviously it's important to respect people's beliefs, but when it's restricting the freedoms of their children and their family members so much, it obviously leaves you feeling disturbed. Yeah, so it was a really interesting read if you haven't read it. It was actually part of my 26 for 2026, so I got one book read from that list. The next couple of pages are quite busy, as you can see. I don't love these 2 pages. I think they're too many memo pads. You can see I've used one here. This is actually separate pages. They're just loose leaf pages from, I can't remember the artist. I'll have to add them to the screen. But and then this is a memo pad with some really cute corgis. I couldn't say no to this, with this beautiful little garden. And I basically wrote about how I want to move to somewhere with a garden, but I also want to live in a city. So I can't have my cake and eat it, sadly. So I'm going to have to make some big decisions this year. I really like this memo pad. I just, think that maybe there were too many memo pads and maybe should have moved the position of it. But anyway, I wrote just something I was thinking about, like the idea of moving. And then here's just about my day. And I also, as I said, I bought these acrylic paints, so I just added a picture of them in there and added some paints here that I don't know if I like. But so I've got that, and then what else did I do? I was just working today. And then this page, I got another stationery delivery. I get a lot of stationery, and then I wonder where all my money is. So I spoke about that, and then I added some of the painting This was a pamphlet that came with the paint, so I added that in the corner, which is quite cute. I think I just spent the day journaling because it was my only day off that week. Well, I think I probably had some days off on the weekdays, but as part of the weekend, since I worked Saturday, I decided to have a lazy day Sunday. And this stamp is really cute. I saw it. I was on Reddit as usual, and there's a subreddit for Hobonichi, as you probably know, and someone always uploads their they've got a Hobonichi weeks dedicated to their cat, and they draw some really cute comics of their cat. It's really really sweet, and they had this stamp on one of the pages, so I was like, I have to have that stamp. So I think I did Google image search and managed to find it. And the brand is called Potter and Cat, if you're interested. They're so cute, and I've got quite a few of their stamps now. I'm slowly collecting them. Today was quite a busy day. I didn't use more than one page, but I did leave a lot of space for writing, as you can see. So I put a few photos of birds here because we went bird watching in the daytime after I did some work. I think today was today was a day off, but I did have some work. So my husband was off. So after I did some work, as I said, we went bird watching. We saw this lovely little kingfisher that usually is around this area of the river. He's always, or they are always waiting for fish. And then I got this cute picture of wagtail as well, so I put that in there too. And then I made another little photo collage, which isn't the most amazing thing in the world, but you know, you can get the gist. We walked to Numabukuro, which is somewhere we don't often go, which I don't know why. We always seem to go to Nakano, which has so many restaurants and it's a really cool area. But Numabukuro has a nice little street of restaurants as well, like the main street. So we had Thai food. And as we were walking there, there was this road that we walked along, like a quiet little street. And normally, you know, when you go to, I think it's a shrine, they have the Torii gate, the red gate, outside of the shrine, but this gate was actually at the opening of the road. So I don't know if maybe the whole area was considered the shrine grounds, or whether they didn't have enough room along the road where the actual entrance was. In any case, I thought it was quite fun, so I took a photo. It's not something that you see often, or maybe I just don't see often. Yeah, the Thai food was really good. I came back and then I had to work again. But I'm sure that I could have done it in the week, but I didn't want to do it, so I was stuck doing it close to the deadline, as is my wont. This page is, I like this part. This, I don't know, I do like it. It's just, you know, it's just stickers and whatnot. Sometimes I write the opposite, vertically. Yes, vertically, because if the width is quite small, it's easier to write vertically because you don't have to keep changing lines. And I tend to, like, in a small space, I have to like hyphenate words a lot, and I don't like doing that. So I just wrote the other way, and I like this. This day I got my beautiful Da Vinci. It's really slim ring system. Before that I was using a Filofax one that had quite big rings, and I'm still using that, but the thin one, I don't know what to use it for. Like, I bought it and I was using it for reading notes, but I've got too many reading notes, and I need more room. So I moved those to the Filofax, and the Da Vinci is now housing my calendars for paying rent. And I feel like, why am I using such a beautiful little rings system for such a boring thing. So I might change it around. I might use that for running notes and exercise, and then move my bills and stuff to another like less exciting rings system. But in any case, that came and it was so beautiful. I couldn't stop touching it. It was in a wine colour, in this colour. Actually, I'll show you. Oh no, I can't because my bills are sticking out. But yeah, maybe I'll show that later if I change the usage for it into something nicer. And then I wrote about my day here as usual, and we saw a grey heron, I think, in the pond when we came. Did I go for a run? Yeah, I went for a run, and then there's a pond just outside our apartment. And sometimes there's a grey heron there, so we saw him, or they. I always say him, and I don't know what gender they are. Sorry if I misgender the grey heron. But yeah, so I put this cute BGM sticker there. And then I actually put a picture of my mum's card that I sent her, because especially at Christmas, Sanrio and Hallmark do really cute cards here. Like they do these ones that fold up or like have melodies and stuff. They're really pretty. But when I send them, I forget what I've already sent. And I mean, if I sent the same card twice, I'm sure my family wouldn't notice year to year. But I do want to try and send a different card if I can. So I actually stick the picture of the card that comes with the card packaging into my journal, just so I can remember what card I sent. And then I don't end up sending the same one twice. Although I've sent several cards before I started journaling, so I could end up sending the same one twice. And I do go back and check. Like last year I checked, and I actually started journaling properly in 2024. I started from October in a little day free A6. Soon found out that wasn't big enough, but I do have all the cards that I sent in 2024 in there, so I check that sometimes. And I also check my 2025 cousin as well, because I have the 2025 cards in there. I should put them in a separate place. Maybe I could put them in that little Da Vinci. Speaking of, because yeah, I could write each year what Christmas cards I send, but that would be too organised for me. So I think this is the last set of pages I'm going to show today. I will show the rest of the month in another video, otherwise it will get too long because I chat way too much. There's parts that I like and parts that I don't. I think the problem with this one is maybe that red ink is a little bit too stark, although I love the stamps. This was another stamp order because I'm always buying stamps. You can see there's this really cute one called Living with Cat. I want to say, I keep wanting to say Tully's, but that's a coffee shop. What is this brand called? Anyway, I'll put them on the screen again. This one was out of stock for some time, but they restocked it, so I had to order it. I had to. This was a cute one of some seagulls, and then there was a piano. I did used to play the piano when I was a kid. I bought a keyboard a few years ago, and I have it in my room, but I never play it, and I really wish I did. I also buy sheet music every now and then, and don't even touch it, and it's dusty, and it's got stuff on the keyboard, the keys that I just shove there, because it's kind of like that chair you have in your bedroom that you want to sit on, but it's always covered in clothes. Yeah, that's my crap magnet, I guess you can call it. But I got these stamped just in case I ever did play the piano, even though I don't have a beautiful grand piano. As I said, I think the red is a little bit stark. I perhaps could have done it. I don't think I have an ink in this, stamp ink in this colour, but that would have been a nice colour. But I think I wanted to match with this washi tape that came with the order. And then this is just a thank you letter that the creator added to the package. Here's, I really like these stamps. They're the Otonan no Zukan stamps, which are really out of stock everywhere at the minute, which is annoying. Maybe I'm going to try again, because they said that a few of them were coming in stock in April when I checked in January, so maybe it's a good time to recheck. But yeah, really, really strange. I do like these, especially for like food. I should really be drawing the food. I wanted to get into kind of like sketching food and painting it like kind of really rough, but I haven't started that because I always get too nervous about drawing directly on the paper. I don't see why I can't just like draw on a separate piece of paper and stick it in, but I'm always like, I don't know, it seems like more of an effort, so I usually end up just sticking a sticker in. And this day we actually had kimchi jun, which is the kind of savoury pancake with kimchi in it. So there was this is actually pajon, I think, with green onion, or Welsh onion is it called. But yeah, I stuck that in. I just said I ate a lot. I couldn't stop eating. It was like I had a tapeworm, lol. Yeah, I put lol and haha in my journal all the time, or like little, not emoticons, emojis. But I think it conveys feeling and emotion quite quickly and succinctly, so I don't mind. And I always have, I don't know if you feel this way as well, but I always think, should I be writing in proper grammar or should I write in my speaking voice? You know, in the UK we say, a lot of people say, instead of my friend and I, we say me and my friend. And I think that's common like in a lot of English speaking countries. And technically it's grammatically incorrect, but it's just the way that I speak and a way that a lot of people speak. So I think, should I be writing that, or should I write my friend and I? And should I write whom? Should I try and use whom, to whom I was speaking? But I don't talk like that, so it sounds weird even when it's written down. But I think maybe because it's written I should write properly. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure there's like really dumb spelling mistakes in it, so I don't know why I'm worrying about stuff like that when I should be concerned about like actually writing coherent English. But yeah, I'm really interested if anyone else has thought that, like while they're writing, the kind of struggle between being grammatically accurate and correct over writing in their spoken voice. Probably no one else is thinking that. They're just, of course I'm going to write my diary in the way that I speak. But yeah, I'm interested, so please let me know if you've had that conundrum, or any other conundrums you've had when writing, particularly when writing down your thoughts or your daily routine or whatever. Anything you've come across that's made you step back and think a little bit. I'm really interested to hear. So anyway, there's this page, and then these were just some pattern stickers from Midori. Midori has some nice stickers too, that I have quite a lot of their stickers. They have these sets that are like 2 sheets. I'm sure you've seen them, but yeah, they're really cute. So I have this pattern one that I stick just in the gaps. And then this page, the last page of this video, I like this page, and I really like this. I'm not sure, I think this might be Mindwave as well. It was some sticker sheets they did a while ago called collage, frame collage I think they were called, and they had just a bunch of stickers that were already kind of collagey style. I know that Bronte plans, is it? But anyway, Bronte is really good at beautiful collages. She does them really nicely. So I do like to add those in, kind of inspired by her. But these stickers you can see, I mean, these are 2 separate stickers here, but this is one sticker. What's going on my balcony? I think it's just strong wind. I hope it's not the pigeon that's come back. Anyway, yeah, so these look really cute, but I just find that this whole page is kind of, because I've chosen quite subdued colours, it doesn't really stand out. It's all a bit beigey and blah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I think just compared to this one where you've got this strong red and then you've got this very beigey page, it's a little bit more subdued. This one I had a lot of work today, so yeah, January is quite quiet for me, but luckily I did get a bit more work today, well, on this day. And I also added in some tape from, what is the brand called? Yohaku. Their washi tape is so beautiful, so I use that quite a lot. Yeah, that's it basically. I think I did go for a walk this day. No, we went out for a run and we saw Kosagi. We finished Sore Sore no Kodoku no Gurume. What is it called in English? I don't even know if it's been translated yet, but, if it's been given English subtitles yet. I think it's Each One's Solitary Gourmet. But yeah, we finished that, so I put no more episodes. I really enjoyed that actually. It's not like the most amazing show in the world, but it's like kind of those comfort shows that we rewatch a lot. We've gone through, we have a few shows that we rotate through when we can't think what else to watch. So Kodoku no Gurume is one of those. Solitary Gourmet, Midnight Diner, Shinya Shokudo is one of them as well. That's another one where it's kind of like there's a lot of food, but it's not so much focused on the food. It's the food brings people together and maybe pushes forward the story, but it's about the people that go to this restaurant. It's like a little hole in the wall that's open from midnight to 7 a.m. And the guy that runs it, called Master, he basically like a sort of semi-mythical character who helps people work out their problems. And then there's a character I really love called Marilyn, and she's a stripper. And there's this character in it called Chu-san. He's an old man, and he's always at her show. And when she does her final performance, she always ends with like she's obviously taken her drawers off and she's spreading her legs out wide, and then Chu-san always says "Kokaicho," which kind of is a polite way of saying like at the opening or something. Like kaicho is like reveal or opening, but they put go on it, which makes me laugh because that's a kind of it's an honorific. So yeah, his face is really funny. My husband really likes him too. I think that's his favourite character. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm rambling. But that's another show. Another show we really love is Seinfeld. I never was one to watch. I'd never watched it when it was originally on. I mean, I was a kid when it was the 90s, right? I would have been like, yeah, like 5 or whatever. I was like a really young kid in the 90s, but I didn't even watch it because it didn't really get shown in the UK. Like Friends, like a similar show, Friends was always being shown in the UK. Like if it wasn't on one channel, it was on E4, or it was just constantly on. And I never watched Friends either, actually, saying that, until recently. But I didn't really, I enjoyed Friends, and I was like, okay, I know why it's popular, but I didn't really like love it. Like a lot of people have a really like strong attachment to it. My strong attachment is to Seinfeld. Maybe because they're all assholes. I love Elaine, and I mean, I love all of them. Obviously, Kramer's hilarious. George makes me laugh so much. He's such an asshole. Even Jerry, the main character, but like the surrounding characters as well, like Newman. It just is so funny, and we just love it. We quote it all the time. The amount of time we say "no something for you," like Soup Nazi. Yeah, I know it's probably a problematic fave these days, but yeah, just so funny. Yeah, so we rotate through those. But at the minute, we've been watching a lot of new stuff. So I'll talk about those when I get to April, if you're interested. But yeah, that was up to the 15th. So thank you very much for watching. I'll end it here. And hopefully I can get the second half of January up soon, because I really need to get caught up to the current month. Although I am behind in April and I'm missing a page in February, so I might need a little bit of time. Yeah, if you have any questions about any of the stationery I used that I didn't point out, or any questions about what I've discussed, or anything that you maybe want to hear more about or don't want to hear about, like you'd rather me not talk about, yeah, please let me know in the comments. Obviously, if you could give criticism in a kind way, I'd be very grateful. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye.